Welcome, everyone. So let us just maybe continue with that in gathering, just taking 2 minutes more, and let's experiment with focusing our concentration above our head, like a mirror turned upwards. Mirror which is clear, shiny, without any dirt and dust, turned upwards. Still and stable. Open, porous, and receptive to the higher light. So we'll start today with continuing our reading from the last time. So we had started this passage, reason, its utility and limitation. And we have reached until this point. So today we take up, maybe we take an overlap. This was the passage which we had covered, touched upon, and then we maybe read it again and then take the next one. Yeah, this continues a little. Yeah, so anyone who would like to read, so this would be an overlap passage. We have touched upon it last time, and then maybe you can continue and take this up also, both, just to have a continuity. Yeah, anyone?
I can read it now.
Okay.
The mother is very emphatic in regard to the utility of reason up to a certain stage of mental evolution. She considers it dangerous to give up the help of reason so long as one lives in the mind and acts from the mind. It is possible, she says, to give up only to give up reason only when you have beyond the passed beyond the mental activity. It is possible only when you have given yourself totally to the divine. It is possible only when you have no more desires. Reason must be the ruler until you have gone beyond the state where it is indispensable or merely useful. Ma'am, I'll read that just one more time. Uh, it is possible, she says, to give up reason only when you have passed beyond the mental activity. It is possible only when you have given yourself totally to the divine. It is possible only when you have no more desires. Reason must be the ruler until you have gone beyond the state where it is indispensable or merely useful. It would be well to remember how categorically she commends reason and warns against its abandonment. So long as there is an ego, so long as there are desires, so long as there is a personal will, so long as there are impulses and passions, preferences and attractions and repulsions, you cannot give up reason without falling into an unbalance.
Yeah, let's take a pause here because
Sure, sure.
I'm not sure what all we reflected upon, but this seems like worth reflecting again, maybe. So let's maybe. So this, this really struck me when you said this, when mother says, and you were reading, that it is possible to give up reason only when you have passed beyond the mental activity. I think this is, for me, it's like a catch because there is a lot of confusion at times that the knowing is illogical and not reasonable. So how do I know? Do I listen to my heart? Do I listen to my mind? What? So as long as there is this continuing thought process of mind going on, I think that's very, very important. And that's why we nowadays more and more turn want to turn towards silencing the mind or quietening the mind, where the incessant mental activity is not going on. So I think this is very, very important, that it is possible to give up reason only when you have passed beyond the mental activity. Very, I think this is the catch sentence for us to work upon here. It is possible only when you have given yourself totally to the divine. So right now, if we look at our thoughts and feelings wherever they go, they are just distracted, they are scattered all around. We may say it in theory that I have given myself to the divine, but in practice it is not happening. I want this and then I want to turn to that, and that is so glittery and that also so attractive. So right now it is very important for me to listen to reason, that okay, is it reasonable what I am trying to do, or the action that I am trying to take, or whatever the thoughts that may be going into my mind. So that tark vitark becomes necessary, that gives me clarity in darkness. But when one is able to completely turn to the divine, or in other words, also silence the mind, that yes, nothing is as attractive as the divine now. So those repetitive, incessant loop of thoughts that go on and I engage in, now that engagement is not there. No? So there is a quiet in the being, calm in the mind. Now, reason can be like it's like it's now dispensable, but before that it is indispensable. Yes, because there are forces of passion, forces of desire, and we again will fall on our nose, which again the divine makes use of that, if not we listen to the clarity of reason. Yeah. So long as there is an ego, so long as there are desires, so long as there is a personal will that no, 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 this is what I want, this is what must happen. So as long as I have these personal inclinations, then, reason is required. So long as there are impulses, passions, so reason is like a regulator for these forces of passions, impulses, which have the capacity to take us like really haywire. preferences and attractions and repulsions, you cannot give up reason without falling into an unbalance. So if we give up reason, that is to say, then for sure we will fall on our nose, hurt ourselves, and ir one can say that we can maybe avoid that blow that we are inviting, if we are a bit reasonable. But again, at times it is not in our hands, because people who are not run by reason naturally, it has to be cultivated. Then we learn after those falls and blows that we get when we follow those impulses, passions, and whatever, inclinations. Yes, I am chup
Yeah,
now.
I am. I would want more reflection probably on, say, there's not much silence. There's a lot of reasoning, and yet one of the reasons that comes up is have faith, right? That is a reason that's not coming up from the inmost thing. Otherwise, that dialogue would not need to happen, right? The fact that the dialogue needs to happen, that haven't you seen how the world works? Haven't you have had enough help? Do you need to go there, right? So in a way, it's very interesting right now in my brain that faith is also being introduced and the being by reason, right? Till when it would not need the ground of reason to stand on, because obviously it is much bigger than that. But there's a bit of both controversial, like kind of contradictory, sorry, not controversial, but also logic, that I can silence it by giving it the reason of faith or certitude or but I love, and I must trust because I know I have trusted so many times before and it has always been, the best has always happened. A bit strange, right? The whole dynamics, how we have to, I don't know what word to use, manipulate or push ourselves towards, I don't know, better reason than a lesser reason. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. If we look at it, what you were sharing, you will see that although it is appearing like reason is giving rise to faith, but if you just reverse it, actually that is also true. See, I have faith in my reason. That is why I am reaching a place when reason is saying have faith. I am able to have faith on the reason. Very interesting, like murgi pehle aaya ya anda pehle aaya, almost like that, so that is where it's like it's taking to its summit, that now I have faith on reason, and I have, because of that faith, believed in many many opinions of mine, haven't I? I have. Now the best it can take me is have faith, so that's the beauty, when you were sharing. Very interesting. And then it can actually, the mind has capacity then to fall silent, because it's maybe the ripples of all the incessant chatter is there. Now the ripples may be there, but I will not be engaging in it, because what did I say to myself? Have faith. And because I trust myself too much, then, and my reason too much, so it is actually benefiting. you know yeah.
Yeah. So I have to be convinced.
Hmm.
I convinced myself to have faith. Like, how silly is that sounding? And yet it work. I don't know. It is there. It is there, that it's a mental activity towards that takes me towards some silence. And another thing, at the later lines where about the ego and the preferences, one thing is the reasoning of my mind, right? Like, okay, what we were just discussing. But I see that, of course, I mean, we all see that the body has its own mind, the vital has its own mind, right? Like the habits seem to have their own mind, huh? A lot of time, logically, just using the mental domain, something doesn't make sense at all. And yet, probably the body would say, "Arey, arey, do it, do it, do it," or the in the sense. So here, one is again being cautioned and use the mental there, right? When you are having four different schools of reasoning, one may be coming from physical, one habitual, one vital. Use the mental, right? That's what at least I understood, because the others seem to push it into the lower vital, the lower physical, at least from where I see it. If you could, yeah, shed some light.
I think यहाँ पे वही बात आ जाती है where we were talking once of clarifying our intelligence, because it is impurified, our intelligence or this, see, reason is coming from it's a function of mind. But we see mostly that we are not, we say that we are reasonable beings, but even the reason that we use is manipulated reason. What you were sharing, it is manipulated by body's needs, weaknesses and limitations of the body, then inertia of the body, then vital has poking again and again its nose in the reason. So usually it's a clouded reason that we have, although it may be still andho mein kana raja, like I don't have anything else. And that is our capacity, that we can slowly, if we master it, then we can refine it, and there can come a clarity in reason, and then reason becomes a helper. So because if I'm clarifying it, then logically, sequentially will say that yes, makes sense to now surrender to the divine. So utmost capacity, and then the reason has no power, because then the things that happen, even earlier things were happening, now they will be, I can't apply my reason everywhere, and also that is not required. Because see, why mother says that at one moment it becomes dispensable, like you can dispense it off, because there is a greater knowing that is working. So I don't need all the pre-calculation and manipulation and that plus minus and division in my head. That's not needed. That's waste of energy. I know that I have to be there, simple. So in front of that greater knowing, there was a play, I just came across a play written by somebody else. I don't think it's the mother, but some maybe disciple devotee of the mother. And it was a play that there are like few children, and it's a land of darkness. And some children have heard that there is light somewhere, that an old man have said that there is light. Now some children embark upon the journey that, okay, let us find the light. And then they meet some others that who are also told by somebody that, oh, there is light. And then they meet somebody who has a torch. Now they feel very happy to have that person who has a torch, because they say, oh, we were really stumbling, and now you have a torch, maybe let's go together, and since we are going the same way, let's make use of your torch. Again reflecting to reason, intelligence. And then the torch is helpful, it's helping them not to stumble again and again. That's what we were reading right now. Then this appear to reach a place which is like really, like a lot of light is coming. Now they say that now that torch is not, it's like, you can redundant, like in the presence of sun, the street lamps are nothing, they are not needed. So that's where the street lamps become redundant, not before that, because before that there is darkness. So I think that's it up to me, that I must be knowing enough that, okay, darkness or light, what is going on. And then it kind of sheds itself off, reason by itself. I don't think it would be a doing then, when one has got the higher light in relative degree. Again, it increases, but or higher knowing, a deeper knowing, which, and one has also become convinced to now trust in it than the reason. Then a reason, I would say, one can slowly let it go.
Yeah, Monica, I wanted to ask you this. You had given an example of the torch, So the torch can be the reason, right? Yeah. Okay.
Exactly,
So
yeah. So
Oh.
torch was a reference for our whatever half-lit mind or vision that we
Oh.
have, that in the absence of greater light, it's very welcome that the torch is present and we can make use of that, so that we don't have to grope our way in dark.
Okay.
So it makes sense that okay, I have, this is what I am doing, and it makes sense to do this. So okay, follow that sense, follow that sense for as long as I don't have a deeper and a greater knowing. Yeah.
Beautiful. This example actually fitted so well.
Mm. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it was a nice play. Yeah, anything else? Again, I somehow feel that this is so important. This is so important because from time and again we realize that we may say we have turned to the divine, but we have not turned to the divine. My each pore is not yet turned to the divine. So this is where I think we really need to maybe reflect over, meditate over these lines where she says that it is possible only when you have given yourself totally to the divine. It is possible only when you have no more desires. So from time to time, as if that we were talking of that inner guard that they, so inside, as if there is a guard who is taking rounds all the time. I think it's very good to just make a round of your being inwardly and check, okay, what am I sticking to? Is the mind sticking to anything? Are there any thoughts which are reiterating again and again, believing, and then continuously clarifying it, not to engage in the thoughts, but to check it and to continuously keep rejecting, rejecting, rejecting. If one can do that, at times one can't, but if one can do that, like to keep it clear, like jhadu, like to constantly keep sweeping the floor and make rounds. Do I need anything more than the mother? So keep checking. I think that really helps, because if from time to time I am sticking, then I can just let go of that sticking. But if I'm not aware of that sticking, then how to let go? So that inwardly making rounds of the being, we are always making rounds. We are making rounds of people around us, you know who did what in the morning and evening, see how he spoke or she spoke. We are very scrupulously, like spying usually on people, but good to spy now on myself, so that the inner space can be kept clean. And to become comfortable with that silence in the being, not to say that, oh my god, how is it possible that for 2 minutes I was silent. No, 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 nothing doing. Some activity must be there. So to become very comfortable with that inner stillness and silence, because that is how we make the receptacle ready uh, for higher light and peace and rest of the bouquet to come. Without that stillness, if the mind and being is always restless, 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 so it's like a cup that I have which is always moving. Nothing can pour really into it. So like a solid empty cup, keeping it like that. Yeah. So yes, now we can continue. If there is anything, please do share. Yeah, anyone who wants to read.
Yeah, Monica, I'll read.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. There is another point to consider in this connection. Those who have gone far in the study of human nature and acquired an insight into the working of the subtle forces of the supraphysical worlds surrounding our material existence know that influences and suggestions are always streaming into us from them. So, Monica, if you don't mind, I'll read this sentence once again. Those who have gone far in the study of human nature and acquired an insight into the working of the subtle forces of supraphysical worlds surrounding our material existence, know that influences and suggestions are always streaming into us from them. We do not see where these influences come from, and we weight their suggestion as being our own, springing from some part of our own being. Desires, cravings, all sorts of impulses pour into us, pell-mell from these environing regions. Some of the suggestions are good and helpful, while others are evil and harmful. And it is this medley of heterogeneous elements that renders our lives so confused and miserable. Reason is our only safeguard against the inroads of the unfriendly or unhelpful forces. Its discrimination protects us from many a dangerous snare. It is true that our reason itself is often deluded. So here, Monica, I wanted to ask you, we don't see where these influences come from. Okay. Here, 1 minute, I'll just read it again. We do not see where these influences come from, and we take their suggestions as being our own, springing from some part of our own being. These are the influences for suggestions, while others evil, and it is the medley of heterogeneous elements that renders our life so confused. Reason is only our safeguard. Here, what is the reason, Monica? Can you please explain it to me?
So it
What
seems,
is
it seems
said
to
as
me.
reason?
See, for example, what we call as maybe, so all kinds of suggestions are just floating around, say, right? And I have a magnet within me. Now that magnet within each one of us is different. Not everyone will pick up the similar thoughts. You will pick up something else. You are prone to picking something else. I am prone to picking something else. And each one of us has as if a magnet, but it's a different magnet, very special. So that special magnet can be called as maybe our, what we call as our vrittis, or the sanskars, maybe of this lifetime, previous lifetimes. And so I'm vulnerable, one can say. I'm open to those suggestions more, like what is the make of my magnet. But these suggestions are coming from outside, because as if there is a world of thoughts and suggestions. So reason, how does it help? Where does it help? That I ask myself, first, that the thought or whatever suggestion, it enters just like that. It just entered and I begin to think about it and begin to engage in it. But then the other thing is that if I have engaged in it enough and I know that it creates more and more like loopy, drainage of energy, then I ask myself, oh, is it benefiting me? Is this engagement benefiting me? And that is where the reason can come in picture. Just one window I am opening, there may be more. That I let them all enter and begin to think and ruminate and regurgitate, and all the time I do that. Then there comes a time in my life where I say, why am I draining this energy? Do I need to think like that? Can I stop thinking like that? What is making me think like that? Mother says that you should find out why do you think the way you think. Very interesting, but we usually don't make that effort. So then this is the reason which stops that mechanical invitation of those iron fillings to that magnet. This is reason. Otherwise this will go on forever and I'll be the same forever, inviting the same suggestions, falling for same desires again and again. But there comes a time in our evolution where we have done that enough, and we feel that no, something better must be there, this can't be it, and why am I repeating myself again like a tape all the time? So this is reason which is asking that why am I repeating, it doesn't make sense. This would be reason apart, there would be more maybe examples here. Yeah, you're muted, Sardaji.
Yeah, just now you said something, mother is asking, why do you do what you do? Something you asked, no? What is that question?
Yeah, mother says that we should put effort in knowing why do I think the way I think.
Oh,
Why
beautiful.
do I feel the way I feel? Because if I don't question it, like where if we don't use the reason, then this mechanical vrittis, the conditionings are actually running themselves. I am thinking I am living a life, but it is the conditionings that are living my life, not me.
Oh,
I have no mastery. Yeah.
beautiful. Thank you, Monica.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
So just maybe completing this one, I think this just got left in between. Reason is our only safeguard against the inroads of unfriendly or unhelpful forces. So just like what you shared, if a suggestion is coming and I see that suggestion always takes me downhill, do I need to follow that? Can I stop going that downhill again and again? That is the activity of reason, and we all have that. So I may have lesser degree of reason, but I would still be able to see that that is taking me downhill. Sounds reasonable. And then also knowing that I have the capacity to not go there, maybe somewhere else. Since that's why mother says that since we are so obsessively thinking all the time, so if you have to think good thoughts, positive thoughts, because you can't stop thinking. That's what we have to actually see where she says this. Because I can't stop thinking. So if I'm saying to myself, oh, what will happen of my life? I'm just like in great trouble. And I see that I think that like that again and again and again. So I change it. I affirm. What do I say? Oh, mother knows the best and she is overlooking everything. So that saves me. Its discrimination protects us from many a dangerous snare. It is true that our reason itself is often diluted, bribed, or blackmailed. But whatever its faults and shortcomings, it is still the best guide we possess so long as we are not in the hands of divine. Yeah. Yeah, anything here in this paragraph, anyone?
Yeah, something is coming to me because funny, I would want to share it. Like, I think 3, 4 years back or something, I was just sitting doing something, and my sister came and she was like, let's go on a vacation, like kind of a thing. And I was absolutely not interested, but she kind of threw 10, you know, exciting things my way. And I was like, okay, okay, it sounds okay. And then she left. And then as soon as she left, something in me started planning. Like, I'll ask him if he can take care of the child, but he's always busy. He never takes care of the child. Oh my God, then I won't be able to go on my vacation. And suddenly I was like, my vacation? When did it become my vacation? And where is this feverishness or restlessness coming from? Like, did I want this? And the answer was, do I really care? And the answer was no. So, in those 2, 3 minutes, I realized that how I was sitting still, somebody with a desire came, they stood near me, spoke to me, I took on their desire, and now I've started vibrating in that feverishness that what if my desire is not met? I mean, it was very interesting how it just gets on you, starts ruling you. And then I was like, if I go, I go. I mean, because I didn't want to go in the first place and it was laid at rest. So just wanted to share that. It's funny how these things escape us. That's it.
Yes, yes, beautiful. Yes. Thank you for sharing. So I think this thing really helps to know that there are what you just shared, a wonderful example, to know that these are just impersonal things floating around. There is nothing personal about my want to get a car or anything else. My want to even get married. It's all floating in the air. My want to have children. Oh, I would like to have children. So we have to see that there is nothing personal about it, and it is all these suggestions that we keep on picking. And so we can, what you just shared, that we can lay that feverishness, that restlessness at rest. And then, of course, whatever the unfolding of life is there, but that there is no need for that restless up and down of energy, because whatever we do from that restless up and down of energy, it's definitely not done in a proper way. It's always coming from a wrong center. Again, the divine compassionate, makes use of that also. But yeah, if we can prevent that action. Yeah. And this is how we begin to become an individual. We were talking how ego is a helper, ego is a bar. When we begin to actually discern that, do I really want this? What you were sharing, your example, that no, I don't want this. So when we begin to take shape in our being, that yes, suggestions may be floating, but do I really want this? Then the individuality begins to develop. And this is very important, because before this, I can't talk about surrender. What will I surrender? These collective suggestions. Mother will say, where are you? What are you surrendering? First, be something so that you can surrender that something. So, very important to form this boundary, that yes, people may be saying, my own parents may be saying, my spouse may be saying, my child may be poking me in the nose, but I don't want this. And we can, on the way, we can call it rigidity, because at times it may appear like rigidity, but this rigidity also has a proper place, because this rigidity is coming from a deeper knowing that no, I don't want to go that way. So when people talk about suppleness, before this I can't even talk about suppleness. Suppleness comes later, when the mind is fully formed and the individuality is strong. Then I can talk of suppleness. Again, surrender also. But before that, if I talk of suppleness, then I'll be always in the vague of all those, suggestions. And किसी ने कुछ कह दिया तो वो कर लिया, अच्छा उसने वो कह दिया तो वो कर लिया, पापा ने कह दिया शादी कर ली, मम्मी ने कह दिया बच्चे कर लिए, मेरी लाइफ कहाँ है यहाँ पे? That's what we live. I'm talking about myself also. So we should know that it's important to, at any point of time, maybe I wake up at 80 and develop an individuality, doesn't matter, but that is a good work done in this life so that it gets carried on.
Yeah, I think, we have discussed it before, but again, it's like good to repeat things. The reason why I'm doing something, right? What is my intention? Like, we've often discussed that it's so good to keep going back to it, because otherwise I would say it's almost impossible not to get strayed. Like, I might be doing something with the purest of intentions, and yet somebody suggests something and that sounds attractive, and then the next time it doesn't happen, I say, oh no, I did that and it didn't happen. But if I'm very clear, if I'm always constantly checking, but why am I doing it in the first place, then these things, they don't stick, right? They are thrown as if, but there's nobody to catch them. They just slip. So because there are so many suggestions in and around me, which I don't even realize are thrown my way, it's so good to have that anchor, that center, how it's spoken about, we speak about the aim, right? That aim, what is my aim? What is my intention? What is my reason that I'm doing A, B, C, D? Because without that, getting lost in the stories and banging your heads on the wall is the only place I land, like 100%, if I'm not centered, for sure.
And what you shared is important because in one moment, I may be turned towards the divine and very pure in my undertakings, and in another moment something strong, and that magnet thing that I was sharing, something magnetic comes to me, and I'm a slave of the ego, and I don't even question, because मुझे लगता है, because the mind keeps on connecting the previous dots, so it says अरे नहीं, मैं तो surrendered हूँ, I am turned towards the divine. So it actually is very good to, not very good but essential actually, to keep checking each moment, that turning, that what is the center of operation. Yeah. And that's why we talk again of vigilance, that as long as breath in the body, that's long how long the vigilance is required. Yeah, because the center can change anytime. It doesn't care that if I have been on the path for 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, how close I have been to the mother. Even then, the center can change and does change. We have so many examples of people living in ashrams close to the guru. The guru may be really a big shot, but the chela, because of the wrong center of operation, becomes poison. The guru can also becomes poison at times, again because of that switching. Many examples we have. Yeah. So again, just knowing that reason may be clouded, and it is clouded, we have to first purify that reason. And in Synthesis of Yoga, there is, I think, a whole chapter where this purification process of our intelligence is talked about. One can go through it if one is interested. So even then, even when it is clouded, the reason, even then it is a help. Like if I have a torch in hand, it may be scratchy torch, it may be giving a very little amount of light, and yet it is light in the darkness. So, it's helpful. Yeah. Yes, Jagan.
Yeah, ma'am, I was just listening to everything, and if influences were gundas in a fight, unlike in a movie where each one comes at one time, these come together. Like this one influence, I take it in, I am excited about it. Then I sit for a second and think, oh, maybe this is not for me. And then the next one comes in like right away. Or there are 3, 4 influences coming. Growing up, there were way too many. So how important is it for someone to disconnect from all of this and sit quietly for a limited period of time? So, is it really important, or should one just go through those influences and gain experience and participate in some, and then get hurt and then listen to his inner calling?
Yeah, it's a very good visual what you shared. But it's like another visual which can be used here is that how important it is to remove yourself from those influences. Imagine that I am a wet pot, wet earthen pot. And as we all know, wet earthen pot is not yet ready to hold water. It has to be dried and then it has to be baked. Now, if the wet earthen pot says that no, let me take the influences, I'm ready, it would be just fooling itself. And we know what would happen to it. So that would depend on our whatever, and it will depend upon person to person, wherever I am in that phase, state of journey, that am I benefiting from those the gundas that are attacking me. At times we may be benefiting because we are in a stable state within, but in most cases I feel that that time, totally inward time, where there are no influences, so that the stability, the grounding and stability, turning towards the divine, or that solidity can come. But how do I test that solidity? By pouring water in the earthen pot. So both, balance of both would be required, no? So if the pot now says, oh, I am baked, I am ready, pour water, and the person pour water and there are pores inside, it is not yet completely baked, so it will have to go again. So that is how we test ourselves. We test ourselves in the waters of life. But those inward times where the baking is happening, and it is not to say that the baking does not happen, the ripening doesn't happen through the interactions. There also we learn our lessons, but all the time saying that, oh no, I need interaction so that I can know that I am fully ready, that's, I feel there is some childishness there, and we need our quiet times, solitude times, where we go totally, the mind is home completely in the body, rested, fully rested, and we are very good friends with that stillness, not wanting to shoo away that stillness, because that is the stillness which gives us solidity, so that when the gundas come and the interactions come, I can take them full on, head on, and then they will tell wherever the weakness is, they will let me know. Yeah.
Great example, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I think maybe that would be the reason why all these people, the yogis and masters, they've spent so much time in solitude. If we see, Sri Aurobindo had many years again where he was not interacting with many people and just into himself. Mother herself, when she came to Pondicherry, she was not interacting with people. She was in her room most of the time for many years. Then we have examples, see Jetsunma Tenzing Palvo, 12 years spending around, 3 years in complete solitude and plus 12 years. So we need these times with ourselves so that that inner ripening and solidity can happen, the sadhana can happen. Not to say that the sadhana doesn't happen in interactions, but yeah, important. These times are important. So maybe we can take a little bit more here. Again, words of the mother. Yeah, anyone who would like to read is welcome.
There is another condition altogether indispensable for you to be able to do without reason, and that is not to be open at any point to the suggestions of the hostile world. As a matter of fact, if you are not completely freed from the habit of answering to adverse suggestions, then by giving up your reason, you give up reason itself. That is to say, common sense, and you begin to behave here also in such an incoherent manner as may lead you to a dangerous lack of balance. And if the adverse suggestions are not to touch you anymore, you must be exclusively under the influence of the divine. You see, now that the problem is not so easy, it means that unless you are completely illumined and transformed, it is always much safer to act by your reason. It may be a limitation. Indeed, it is a great limitation, but it is also a check which prevents you from becoming one of those half crazy people who are too many in the world.
So again, I think a beautiful checkpoint for us. Good that these reminders come again and again. Again, testing and checking inwardly. Again, is the divine only that matters in my life, or other things also matter? Checking, because outward situations keep on changing, friends keep on changing, our priorities of our people, loved ones, they keep on changing. But I will be always under those influence of suggestions. Whenever something outwardly changes, then I begin to ruminate, regurgitate, oh, why is this happening? Should that happen? Is it a good thing to happen? So wherever we put energy, so it means that I'm still wanting something from those outward situations. While here, Mother reminds us that you must be exclusively under the influence of divine. If that is not the case, please, use reason. And we know that we are not there. We are maybe reaching there, but not fully there. So making use of reason whenever hostile suggestions, adverse suggestions come, as we were discussing in the earlier paragraph, that asking myself, is this benefiting me? And this word benefit comes also when we talk about, when we talk about in Buddhism, there are precepts or ethical conduct that even if you have to drink, don't drink too much. Drink this much that you don't lose your intelligence. So that is very reasonable. That yes, I do want to enjoy. It's not that I am away from that enjoyment, but I would drink only that I know that my reason and mind is still active. And there are people who do that. They may be disciplined drinkers, but they drink only this much that doesn't cloud their reason. So as long as we are under the influence of adverse suggestions, good to make use. And this can be cultivated, not everyone may be born with it. But seeing that, okay, if this is benefiting, then please, I must take care of my life.
So simultaneously, obviously, a lot of things happen, right? Like while one is on the path, at one aspect, one knows that reason has its limits. I have a mind, I'm not the mind. And yet, simultaneously, there is purity and finesse being developed. That does it make sense? Does it make sense? Is it passing the reason thing, right? Like these, that like it sounds too much, but it's not. And yet, we cannot ignore any part, right? Like till it's totally like it said under the influence. Like I cannot throw something till I still need it, right? Like, and I cannot, if I throw it too early, I would have to. So, yeah, it has to be developed till it can be offered. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought I'll just put in a word with whoever who is interested. So there in Synthesis of Yoga, we have this one, the purified understanding. This is what people who are interested may go through. Yeah. I think it was this much only, or maybe something. See this one, perfection of mental being. This would also come in this what we are discussing. Perfection of mental being in page 632. This would also be here. And again, purification, the lower mentality, purification of int. So it's all about, the things are there, the tools are there, but they are impurified. They have biases, they have references, they have vrittis. So to be just cleansed of all that, and then they can be made good use of. Just wanted to share this. Yeah.
I was just feeling that sometimes, even when you know and you have reason, reason cannot work without offering. Like for me, I've seen like a few months ago, there was a thought pattern that I was really stuck in. And I know it brings me down, all the Buddhist meditations and general understanding that it brings us down. And I need to really not think this. But no matter how much I tried, I couldn't. And even when I resisted it, there was this, it wasn't happy. So going into it was not happy, resisting it was not happy. So I was like, my goodness, what should I do with it now? It's so this thing. And reason was there, but that this is not helpful, and it's very easy. I think this is the easiest step, that awareness kicks in. You rectify it, not rectify it, that's on you, but awareness will come that you are going into that loophole. This loophole is this. And well, I remember mother, I think in Thoughts and Aphorism book, I read somewhere that how even things that you cannot do, even though you have to do it, you can offer it to the mother, or you can offer to the divine, and that's it. You just leave it to her. So I just thought, okay, I've read it, let's try it, because for me, it's always trying. I'm always trying to try it. Will it work? I remember every time it's to come, I was still going into it, but I say, mother, see, it's back again. Mother, see, it's back again. So even though I had a reason and understanding, but it was, and I could see it happen for a month, sometimes 2 months, it did not happen. And suddenly it disappeared. Suddenly, I didn't even like, it was effortless. So with reasons, when you do certain things, it's with effort. But with grace, how even reason can become effortless. That was the thing. So I was thinking that even if we are using reason, we can use it as a way of offering, which is so important, because life definitely comes difficult. Because even so many times I feel, oh, maybe I should do this, but right now I'm not ready to do it. So let me just give it to the mother. Let her do it. And then just keep saying it. And it definitely becomes easier. So I was just feeling that reason can also become offering, because even no matter how much we read, oh, we should just turn towards the divine. It's so much deep conditioning is there that we cannot. And if we have to be honest, like at least I have to be, that I still have preferences. Oh, that ice cream is nice. Oh, this is nice. Oh, that friend is nice. But what I can do is that, mother, look, just like that, just offering everything to her, and then let her do the work, because she's saying is that I will do it for you. You don't do. So, that sense of doership also goes away when you use the reason, but as an offering to the divine. He will do it for you. So, I mean, that thing I just thought of.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have to see that again, it can be back. It can be back again. And again, we will do, what you were sharing. Beautiful. And that is where it was shared that reason, why we can't fully rely on reason, because it is overpowered by vital and which are stronger. So that thing which is not leaving you, although you don't want to indulge in it, it's not leaving you. It's not leaving you. So these our, what we can say, our conditionings, our impressions, they don't leave us that easily. So वहां पे वो reason भी बेचारा क्या करे? So the best, as you were sharing, that it is coming, and showing it to the mother, that mother, see, it is coming. But at that point, you are doing one thing, which I think we must mention. When it is coming, that tendency, that pattern, it is coming, we are not completely rid of it. One thing which also has changed, again, amongst many, many things, is you are not indulging in it anymore. A part of me is knowing that, yes, although it is there, maybe I'm doing it also, but that full indulgement is not there. Something knows that I should not be here. There was a very good story which Taru had once shared. Would you like to share it? वो विभीषण वाली story. I think that really helpful here.
Yeah, you shared it. I have shared it so many times. So don't
नहीं,
even
आप
feel.
you've become perfect in sharing it, so go ahead.
Okay. So, okay. You might have heard it,
I think it's good to hear it again, so please do the honor.
that. Okay. Okay. So, it's said that when Vibhishan joined, Ram's army, when he had joined it. So the monkey army, they came to Ramji very not very happy that we are here eating just apples and like sorry fruits and like vegetables, not harming any beings, but their Vibhishan is hunting deers and eating. So Ramji just smiled. They said, "Oh, just give him time. Just give him time." So after maybe 10 days, they came. Okay, he's not hunting deers. He's now hunting rabbits. So he said, "Yes, yes, I know." He just smiled and sent them away. Then it came to birds. Then maybe even smaller things. And then after probably a little bit more time, they said, "Now he is eating just as we do, just raw fruits and stuff." And Ramji said, "Yes, I know." And then they were very surprised that how did you know? So he said that even when he was killing those animals, even while he was eating them, he was crying that I don't want to have this. I want to give it up, and yet I'm unable to control because this is what I have done my whole life. So yeah, and I too have done it so many times and still do it because there are times when you can see, and yet the body, the mind, it has its own momentum. So knowing that you don't want to stop, and yet, and I think what you said was very important, that about the indulgence, that even though I'm still eating and I am not one with it anymore because a part of me is standing back and saying, I'm doing it. I had shared with you, I think 2, 3 weeks back, I was crossing a like coffee place and I didn't want to have coffee. Like my child wanted something. And I was like, I don't really need coffee right now and stuff. But something in me just said coffee, paid for it. And before I could think more, just finished it. Like usually I take like maybe 30 minutes to drink it, but before the reasoning could set up. So I messaged her and I was like, this happened. Before I could do the tark with her, it was over. So just and still just surprised at while it was happening. Like it wasn't one person, it was a part of me who was doing and then seeing and wondering and sharing. So it's really, really helped me this even while doing when I can see, I can offer, I can at times cry and say that I don't want to do this, and yet here I am, and it's only you who can help me, which is true for each and everything. Yeah, that was the story.
Yeah, thank you. This is a very major step. We don't realize, we think that, see, I am still here. 10 years and I'm still here, 2 years and still here. So, this is a very important thing, that earlier there was only one aggregate which was like these patterns. And now there is a little part which is not the pattern. So as if like the disentanglement of Purusha and Prakriti has started to now happen, no matter how little that may be, that part which is standing back. So we don't realize, but this is a very nice little victories that we have in our life. Yeah. All right, so where are we? Here. Oh, I'm sorry, we still are not on reason as a bar. So we'll still have to wait further. And I suggest that maybe we can, yeah, I think we can stop here because it's good stuff for our contemplation, maybe not to overdo, to eat too much at once, and maybe we can stop here. So if there are any last comments, we can take.
Yeah, I would just like to add that, what you just said, that it is a small victory. Whenever there's something, all the time I'm doing this, that if I'm not able to do something, not able to do this to how I think I should be doing it, I'm very critical, right? I am like, I feel low, nothing can happen to me. No, as in with me, I'm good for nothing kind of a thing. But these acknowledgements, firstly, they inculcate more gratitude, right? Because we see, okay, maybe I was 20 and now I'm 19 and a half. So that half matters. So it's really good to be reminded that this counts, this matters, and that also gives a more, stronger push towards, okay, if I can be 19 and a half, tomorrow I can be 19, then 18 and a half. So good to be reminded that yes, it is good, like hit, hey, this is beneficial, this is going in the right direction, as and there's so much grace that is flowing that this is making it possible. So yeah, it's very uplifting and motivating.
Okay, so let's maybe take a pause for today at this uplifting note. We can maybe take a moment in silence, just sharing and dedicating the merit of collective reflection and reading and understanding, sharing all the merit with all sentient beings. May our hearts be full, content, minds simple, and may we have lots of joy and progress in our lives. Thank you, everyone.